You are a young child, loved dearly by your father, filled with dreams and full of innocence. You have done nothing wrong. Yet the people closest to you, your own brothers, see you as a threat. They despise you not for your mistakes, but because of something you have no control over, your father's love. This is the beginning of the story of Prophet Yusuf, as one of the most powerful narratives in the Quran. His life was a series of trials, each more painful than the last. Yet through all of it, there was one thing he never lost: his unwavering trust in Allah. Life often feels unfair. You might have been betrayed by someone you trusted. You might have faced hardship when you least expected it. Muhammad-san, my fault, but what if I told you that the very trials you are going through right now are shaping you for something greater? Surah Yusuf is a masterpiece of divine wisdom, teaching us that patience through suffering leads to the greatest rewards. It's a reminder that even in the darkest moments, Allah is working behind the scenes, preparing something beautiful for you. This is not just a story from the past, it's a lesson for your own life. If you've ever wondered why things don't go your way, or why hardships seem endless, then stay with me. Because the story of Yusuf as is about to transform the way you see your struggles. Imagine standing in the middle of a desert, your heart pounding, your mind unable to comprehend what just happened. One moment, you were surrounded by your family, the people who were supposed to love and protect you. The next, you're being thrown into a dark, cold well, abandoned by the very brothers you trusted. Prophet Yusuf has faced betrayal at the hands of his own blood. His brothers, consumed by jealousy, plotted against him, not realizing that their scheme was part of Allah's greater plan. In that moment of sheer helplessness, when a young boy was left to die in an unfamiliar place, he could have broken down in despair. But what did he do? He placed his trust in Allah. How many times in life have we been let down by the very people we relied on? A friend who turned their back on us, a family member who hurt us, or a loved one who betrayed our trust. It is in these moments that we feel the weight of loneliness, as if we've been cast into our own wells of sadness and confusion. But here's the truth: just like Prophet Yusuf, we are never truly alone. Even in the deepest darkness, Allah sees, hears, and knows our pain. He allows these trials not to break us, but to strengthen our faith. The betrayal that was meant to destroy Yusuf as actually became the first step in his journey toward greatness. And in the same way, the hardships we face today might be shaping us for something far greater than we can imagine. Will you trust Allah in your darkest moments just like Yusuf? Imagine waking up one day as a free person, the beloved child of a noble prophet, with dreams of greatness and divine blessings. And then, within moments, everything changes. You are stripped of your freedom, sold in a marketplace like an object, and forced into a life you never chose. So, this is exactly what happened to Prophet Yusuf as. After being thrown into the well by his jealous brothers, he was discovered by a caravan and sold as a slave in Egypt. From being the cherished son of Prophet Yaqub as to becoming mere property in a foreign land, his life took a turn that seemed unfair, cruel, and filled with despair. But what makes this moment so powerful is how Yusuf as responded. He did not allow his circumstances to dictate his faith. He did not question why Allah had allowed this to happen. Instead, he remained patient, he worked with excellence, and he kept his heart connected to Allah. As if slavery was not enough of a test, another trial soon followed, one that attacked his very integrity and honor. The wife of his master, Zuleika, was captivated by his beauty and noble character. She attempted to seduce him, but Yusuf as, a man of deep faith, stood firm in his morals. When he refused her, she falsely accused him of wrongdoing, leading to his imprisonment. Imagine being punished for doing the right thing. How many times have we faced situations where we try to uphold our values only to be misunderstood, slandered, or falsely blamed? Yet, despite this incredible injustice, Yusuf as did not lose faith. He did not cry out in anger, nor did he question Allah's plan and those. Instead, he chose prison over sin, saying, "My Lord, prison is more beloved to me than what they invite me to." Surah Yusuf 12:33. This is a profound lesson for us. Sometimes, choosing the path of righteousness may lead to hardships. People may turn against us, we may lose opportunities, and we may even suffer injustice. But in the grand scheme of Allah's plan, these trials are not punishments. They are pathways to something greater. Yusuf, as patience in the face of slavery and false accusations, led him closer to his destiny. What seemed like a series of misfortunes was actually the training ground for his future leadership. So, when life throws accusations, betrayals, and hardships at you, will you hold on to your faith like Yusuf as? Will you trust that Allah is preparing you for something far greater than you can see right now? Years have passed. The pain of betrayal, the darkness of the well, the humiliation of slavery, and the injustice of imprisonment are all behind you. And now, standing before you, begging for mercy, are the very people who caused your suffering. This was the final and perhaps the greatest test of Prophet Yusuf, as the test of forgiveness and power. The moment of truth, a face-to-face encounter with his brothers after years of hardship, Yusuf hardship, had been elevated by Allah's divine plan to a position of immense power. He was no longer a helpless child thrown into a well or a slave sold in the marketplace. Now he was the governor of Egypt, overseeing its vast resources during a time of great famine. And then, one day, his own brothers, those who had once plotted to kill him, stood before him, unknowingly seeking his help. They were desperate. The famine had devastated their homeland, and they had traveled to Egypt to request food. They did not recognize Yusuf as his, but he recognized them. Can you imagine what that moment must have felt like? The people who once abandoned him, who stole his childhood, who tore him away from his father, were now at his mercy. He had the power to take revenge. He could have exposed their crimes. He could have punished them for all the years of pain they caused him. But what did Yusuf as do? So, choosing mercy over revenge in an act of unparalleled grace and wisdom, Yusuf as did not respond with anger. He did not humiliate them, nor did he remind them of their betrayal to make them feel guilty. Instead, when he finally revealed his identity, he spoke the words that still echo as one of the most powerful examples of forgiveness in human history. No blame will there be upon you today. May Allah forgive you, and He is the most merciful of the merciful. Surah Yusuf 12:92. No blame. No revenge. No hatred. This is true patience. This is true trust in Allah. Yusuf has understood that every hardship he had endured was part of a greater plan. If his brothers had never betrayed him, he would have never reached Egypt. If he had never been sold into slavery, he would have never been tested in the palace. If he had never been imprisoned, he would have never been given the opportunity to interpret the king's dream and rise to power. What his brothers did to harm him, Allah used to elevate him. A lesson for us. Can we forgive like Yusuf as? Life is full of betrayals. People will hurt us, sometimes in ways we never imagined. The true test is not what they did to us, but how we respond. Do we let the pain consume us, or do we trust that Allah's plan is greater? Do we seek revenge, or do we rise above and forgive? Do we let our past define us, or do we move forward with wisdom and faith? Yusuf, as, teaches us that forgiveness is not a weakness, it is the ultimate strength. When we let go of resentment and trust that Allah is the best of planners, we free ourselves from the chains of bitterness and allow Allah to unfold a destiny far greater than the imagined. So the next time you feel betrayed, remember Yusuf as. His story is not just a historical account. It is a guide for every believer on how to trust in Allah's wisdom, remain patient through trials, and emerge victorious through faith and forgiveness. Have you ever faced a difficulty so painful that you questioned, why is this happening to me? Maybe you lost a job, a loved one, or an opportunity you desperately wanted. Maybe life threw a storm at you and you couldn't understand why. But what if I told you that every hardship carries a hidden wisdom, one that we often fail to see in the moment? This is exactly what we learn from the story of Prophet Yusuf as. His entire life was filled with trials, betrayal, slavery, false accusations, imprisonment. Yet every one of these hardships was a stepping stone towards something greater. Hardships are not a punishment. They are a path to growth. When Yusuf, as was thrown into the well by his own brothers, he must have felt abandoned. But that same well became the means through which he entered Egypt. When he was sold as a slave, it must have seemed like an unbearable injustice. But that same slavery positioned him in the house of an Egyptian nobleman, where he would later be tested and refined. If Yusuf had not been falsely accused and imprisoned, he would have never met the two prisoners who would lead him to the king. And if he had not met the king, he would have never been given the opportunity to rise to power and save an entire nation from famine. Every hardship, every setback was part of Allah's greater plan. Now think about your own life, that delay you're facing, that rejection you experienced. What if it's leading you to something far better? That heartbreak, that failure, what if it's shaping you into a stronger, wiser person? That struggle you're enduring, What if it's bringing you closer to Allah in ways you never imagined? Seeing hardships through the lens of faith, Allah tells us in the Quran. Perhaps you dislike something, and it is good for you. Perhaps you love something, and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you do not know. Surah Al-Baqarah 2, 216. This verse is not just a reminder. It is a reality check. We see life with limited vision, but Allah sees the full picture. What we perceive as a setback is often a setup for something far greater. A personal reflection. Are we trusting Allah in our hardships? When we go through pain, it's easy to fall into frustration, to question why things are not going the way we want. But Yusuf teaches us that faith is not just about believing in Allah when things are easy. True faith is trusting Allah when things don't make sense. Are we patient in our trials, knowing that Allah never allows pain without purpose? Are we trusting that our hardships are shaping us, preparing us for something better? Are we willing to surrender to Allah's plan, even when we don't understand it? The hidden wisdom in hardships is this. They are not meant to break you. They are meant to build you. They are not there to destroy you. They are there to elevate you. So the next time life tests you, pause, breathe, reflect. Trust that Allah knows what He is doing. Because one day, just like Yusuf says, you will look back and see that every hardship was actually a blessing in disguise. The story of Prophet Yusuf is not just a tale of trials and triumphs. It is a roadmap for patience, trust, and divine wisdom. Every phase of his life carries profound lessons that can transform how we deal with difficulties, betrayal, success, and forgiveness. His journey mirrors the struggles many of us face today, feeling abandoned, misunderstood, or tested beyond our limits. But through it all, Yusuf teaches us how to hold on to faith and trust in Allah's plan. Let's explore the key life lessons from Surah Yusuf that can reshape our mindset and strengthen our faith.